This is Module 7.7, Electrolyser Weekly Checks. Every Monday, weekly preventative maintenance is done on the electrolyzer. This module shows what each test involves. When you're doing these tests, you'll be working manual in hand, so this video is intended to provide familiarization only. Before going to the balloon shed, arm the staff alarm by hitting the H key a number of times until you've set it for the time you'll need. Each press of the H key adds 15 minutes to the timer. Do your visual checks on the control panel and gas alarm to ensure everything's in order. The first set of tests are oxygen tests, first to check the pyrite sampler, then to check each cell, and then to check the storage tank. To test the pyrite sampler, you first do the traditional zeroing of the sampler. Then you measure the oxygen concentration in the room air with the sampler hose not connected to anything. The pyrite fluid should read more than 20%. If the oxygen content is less than 20%, then the pyrite fluid needs to be changed. Cell oxygen tests test the oxygen content of each cell individually. Zero the sampler, connect the sampler to the port on the back of cell 1, open the valve, take a sample, close the valve, and measure the oxygen content. Repeat for cells 2, 3, 4, and 5, noting the results in the log. If the oxygen content of any cell is 1% or greater, repeat the test. If it's still greater than 1%, turn off the electrolyzer and advise the OIC. The third test is the storage tank oxygen content. Insert the testing adapter into the balloon filling nozzle. Connect the pyrite sampling hose to the adapter. Open the balloon filling valve on the electrolyzer front panel. Slightly open the inflation control valve until gas is heard flowing through the adapter. Test the oxygen content of the gas coming out the filling nozzle. Note the result in the log. If the oxygen content is 1% or greater, repeat the test. If it's still greater than 1%, turn off the electrolyzer and advise the OIC. The electrolyzer checks confirm the function of some of the switches, as well as checking the compressor oil and checking the cell head bolt temperature. The high pressure switch test confirms that the rectifier goes to idle when the storage tank is full. With the electrolyzer in production, close the toggle valve between the storage tank pressure gauge and the storage tank. Turn the compressor on. The pressure gauge should rapidly increase to 100 psi, and the high pressure switch should turn off the compressor and put the rectifier in idle mode. If the pressure switch activates outside the range, 95 to 100 psi, turn off the electrolyzer and advise the OIC. The PDS switch test confirms that the PDS switch operates properly on a drop in pressure in the high pressure lines. After doing the previous high pressure test, open the toggle valve between the storage tank and the storage tank gauge. The pressure in the lines will rapidly drop, activating the PDS switch and turning off the rectifier. Reset the PDS switch and restart the electrolyzer. If the PDS does not turn off the rectifier, turn off the electrolyzer and advise the OIC. The limit switch test just tests the operation of all 4 limit switches. With the rectifier on and the compressor off, manually trip the upper limit switch and the compressor should start. Manually trip the lower limit switch and the compressor should stop. Manually trip the lower limit switch and the rectifier should turn off. Manually trip the upper limit switch and the indicator light in the office should turn off. Restart the electrolyzer. If any limit switch fails to work properly, turn off the electrolyzer and advise the OIC. Testing the wind switch. Ensure the rectifier is on. Open the door to the rectifier and the wind switch should trip, turning the rectifier off. The rectifier on button should now have no effect. Reset the breaker on the blower fan to restart the blower. Close the door to the rectifier, and in 60 seconds the time delay relay should click and the rectifier should be able to be turned on again. If the wind switch fails to turn off the rectifier, turn off the electrolyzer and advise the OIC. To test the compressor oil, ensure the compressor is off. close the compressor inlet valve. Remove the dipstick from the compressor and confirm the oil level is at the upper line. Then replace the dipstick and open the compressor inlet valve. If the oil level is low or high, turn off the electrolyzer and advise the OIC. The cell head bolts are tested to ensure the temperature is within normal operating range. An overheated cell head bolt could indicate an internal short circuit within the cell. First, ensure the electrolyzer has been in production for at least 60 minutes. Apply the temperature indicating crayon to all cell head bolts on all 5 cells. Then apply the temperature indicating crayon to all cell electrodes, front and back, on all 5 cells. If the wax mark on any bolt or electrode melts, turn off the electrolyzer and advise the OIC. To test the purge error, just visually inspect the black plastic pipe to ensure all the joints are properly seated and there are no cracks or splits. Visually inspect the exterior pipe to ensure it's intact and that there are no rats, cats, spiders, or snakes living inside. If there's any irregularity with the purge piping, turn off the electrolyzer and advise the OIC. Finally, wash the cells using the water hose. Gently rinse off the top of the cells, removing any accumulations of white caustic potash. The alarm tests check the proper function of the emergency off button, the fire alarm, and the gas alarm. The first test is to push the emergency stop button. The electrolyzer should shut down and the blower fan should stop as the office control panel turns off the power. The siren should sound. To test the fire alarm, push the fire alarm test button. The red fire alarm light should come on. Power to the rectifier should turn off and the green light should go out. The siren should sound and the red light on the hydrogen shed should come on. Then push the green rectifier on button to reset the fire alarm. If there's any abnormality, notify the OIC. To test the gas alarm, push and hold the yellow warn test button. The needle should show 100% and the yellow warn test button should illuminate. The green rectifier power light should go out. The siren should sound and the right-hand red light on the hydrogen shed should come on. Push the red gas alarm reset button. Push the green rectifier on button to silence the siren and reset power to the electrolyzer. If there's any abnormality, notify the OIC. The last set of checks is the safety equipment inside the balloon shed. Check the safety board. Confirm the Neutralite bottle is full and the cap is not sealed. In the event of an emergency, you don't want to have to wrestle to break the seal. Check the eye wash bottle is filled to the indicated level. Confirm the PPE cabinet contains gloves, safety glasses, goggles, and apron. Confirm the first aid kit is secure. Visually inspect the gas and fire sensors to ensure they look normal and there's no bats, rats, spiders, or snakes on them. Visually confirm the 3 room vents are clear to the sky. Check the fire extinguisher beside the doorway and the fire extinguisher in the inflation room are both secure. Fill out the log sheet for the weekly checks. Return to the operations building and check into the staff alarm. This concludes the introduction to electrolyzer weekly checks.